Welcome to the podcast. Today, we're joined by the incredible Hana Kabela-Gala, PhD in business management turned neuro coach, who's making waves in the world of mental freedom with her groundbreaking method, Rapid Transformational Neuro Coaching, RTNC. We'll talk about that too. Hana combines neuroscience and hypnosis to help high achievers break free from limiting beliefs, ditch overthinking, and reclaim their personal power. She's a champion for men navigating life's toughest challenges, including divorce, burnout, and mental gridlock. In this episode, Hana will share brain hacks and tools to help men over 40 to recover from divorce, reset their mindset, and unlock their best lives. Let's dive in. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Hana, and we'll go from there. Welcome to the Don't Pick the Scab podcast, with the premise of connecting men over 40 with the tools and community to thrive in their divorce recovery, either before, during, or after a divorce. Check it out.
It's so much joy to be here. David, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your podcast and really any work in this space of divorce and man in particular, and how they navigate this horrible chaos. I like to call it post-divorce chaos. About me, as you said, I wear two hats. I am a business management professor. I teach at a college in Seattle, Washington, but I also have my own practice, and I've been doing a lot of work in the space of neuro coaching. And essentially, in a nutshell, it is this idea that, there's a talk therapy and that works for some people. Arguably, it works way better for women because women are, and I'm exaggerating and simplifying for the sake of this point, so bear with me, but women like to process and women like to talk about their issues. Men, on the other hand, it triggers me, so to speak, when men should go to therapy, and it's not as helpful as you think. It really depends on what kind of therapy. And so, because men are doers, men are much more action biased. So sitting around talking does not seem to be efficient. And that's why the idea of talk therapy is really not appealing for a lot of men. So what I have developed with my colleague, Dr. Blanca Belak, who is in Austria, we worked on this for years. It's RTNC, the Rapid Transformational Therapy Neuro Coaching, is the amalgam of hypnosis and embodiment and neuroscience-based techniques. And the idea is pretty simple. The idea is our actions, our behaviors are driven by our beliefs. And our beliefs are lodged in our subconscious. So the speech therapy or the talk therapy or sort of overthinkers sitting in their prefrontal cortex and trying to figure out everything with their brains are failing repeatedly to impact beliefs because the beliefs are lodged in the subconscious. So with the help of different techniques, primarily hypnosis, these techniques make you drop into the subconscious, let the brain go to sleep. And then you are really working with the beliefs. You can shift the beliefs and you can change your behavior that way. So the idea is change your beliefs, change your behavior. And we have developed this technique, the RTNC, Rapid Transformational Neuro Coaching, as a mix of sort of hard science, rewiring of your neuropaths, and hypnosis, because that's how you get to your subconscious. That's the short of it. And I will add, most of my clients are men because this is so appealing to them.
Gotcha. Can you share your journey from academia to becoming a neurocoach? That's got to be an interesting story.
It is, but it's also not as surprising as you would think. I have, in my previous lives, I've been in the corporate world and in operations in international hotel chains, and I was asked to come and transfer that into a teaching, and I have. But throughout my career, I was always interested in development of my staff, development of employees, development and training and nurturing of the of my team. Later, that seemed like a pretty natural extension to become a teacher, a professor. And I simultaneously still was asked to either do public speaking and or do trainings like management trainings, et cetera, that were focused more and more on the sort of a soft skills. So again, the how to have a hard conversation, how to figure out what is your calling, how to find your purpose, et cetera, et cetera. And so I was doing that, and people would approach me afterwards and say, hey, I have this problem at work and I have this problem at work. And that extended again naturally into coaching. So I got my coaching license and started working with an agency and had sort of corporate clients and worked in that executive coaching space.
Mm-hmm.
The coaches out there would not like me to say this, but I am convinced that all the problems that you have at work and you call professional issues, deep down, they're personal issues. And because hypnosis has such a profound impact on the person, because again, I have this term rearranging the Jenga, where you basically reconfigure your beliefs. So yes, the impact is pretty profound. And so I started digging into that and saw it as one of the best ways to support my clients. And I actually did get my breakthrough as a person, as like me myself. I went through hypnosis and it changed my life, and I saw, felt, experienced the change, and that also what contributed to me wanting to offer that to other people.
So the hypnosis is like the key that opens up the drawer.
That's a very nice metaphor. Yes, it's
Okay.
true. I find the hypnosis, for some people, it's inexplicable. And what I like about it is it's okay that you don't know how exactly it happened. I do is also that you are not, me as a coach, I am not telling you what to do. I think hypnosis has a really bad rap because when you hear the word hypnosis, people are like, oh my goodness, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be clapping and
Mm-hmm.
barking when somebody says a word like a trigger word or something. That's not it at all. And you're not asleep. You're fully awake. You're present. You're talking to me. It's more about really systemically and consciously turning off the brain so that you can drop into the subconscious. And all the connections that my clients make, they make on their own, right? The key is, I can tell you how the session usually looks like a standard session, but it's very efficient. My goal is to have you feel better, be better. One thing that really annoys me in the sort of therapy slash coaching slash the whole mental health world is there seems to be this idea that going to therapy is the goal, but that's never the goal. The goal is to be better. And how do we measure it? If you keep going 2 years later or 8 months later, how are you better? And so what I like about this technique is that you need much less time. And honestly, some people need one session, Most people, because the technique that we developed with Dr. Belloc is like 4 to 6 weeks in the entirety, and you might have 2 sessions with me and then a follow-up call and one more, and that's it. And that's like the standard minimal package. And that is oftentimes all you need to make a breakthrough.
Wow, you got me thinking here, and I'm going to not even deep, but deep for me. So men are very good at compartmentalizing. Are they easier to hypnotize because of that fact? Because it's easier to unpack a compartmentalized person?
That's such a great question. Let me think about this. In my experience, men, I wouldn't say they're easier to fall into the subconscious. In fact, I would say it's the opposite. I think it's harder for men because they resist the idea that maybe they will not be in control.
Gotcha.
And what I like to explain is it's not that you're not in control. It's always you in control. It's just that maybe it's not your brain that is in command. Maybe there you are becoming an observer and you're on this journey where essentially you go back to some events in your life that might have important impact on your behavior today, and you're looking at that behavior. You drop into the past and look at what was happening at the time, and you're figuring out the connection. How is that event related to how I act today? And the examples are endless. Somebody who might feel that it is always their responsibility to fix everything. That's a big one. And you go back and you figure out, oh, okay, so maybe mom and dad were not necessarily around all the time, and maybe you had to deal with a younger sibling that was sick. I had a client like this a couple of weeks ago, and from the early age, they build this belief that if they don't step up, nobody else is gonna. And it hinders them at work now because they are always the one jumping in. They're always the one proposing solutions. They're the problem solver first, and everything else is second. And it's not welcome in some teams, in some settings, and they've been really struggling with it. Like, how I'm doing a good thing here. I am the responsible one. And at some point you realize that, yeah, but you go a little too far and you don't let other people have a say. You don't listen. And you don't listen because you've been always constricted in this, it's a crisis, I need to fix it. It's a crisis, I need to fix it. So maybe you go back and you go, okay, maybe I don't have to be the one solving everything. Or maybe I will eventually, but let's hear what the other person is saying. Does that make sense?
Yes, yep.
And you can go back and see that connection for yourself and go, oh, but I'm not the 8-year-old anymore. I'm a grown man. And now I can let other people, like my grown kids or I don't have to be the one who always saves the day.
Could that be considered part of the overthinking process too?
For sure. But I think that it is. And it is also that we build stories in our mind all the time, right? Like we are telling the stories of, I'm the hero, I'm saving the day, or whether consciously or subconsciously, we keep telling ourselves this. And what we believe, those are the patterns we follow. And the beauty about hypnosis is that it shifts that narrative, that it makes you go, oh, maybe not, or I don't have to. And those are really helpful for a lot of people. You can really address some of the deepest held beliefs around shame, guilt, responsibility. My favorite is when people deep down believe they don't deserve better. And when you really go back and peel off layers and realize that, of course you do. And of course you deserve. And it's okay. Those are the biggest sort of breakthroughs and the most beautiful ones, because it is hard. And this is a podcast about divorce. And I think we talked a little bit about it before we started recording. We underestimate what a apocalyptic event this is, and how it's laden with guilt and shame. And even if you are the one who is asking for the divorce, which 70% of divorces are initiated by women, we have a huge disproportion in this area, and it's men who struggle with, and they are so often blindsided. What? How did we get here? And so it compounds the bad situation, because now, okay, you want a divorce, but I am blindsided. And the other thing is, somebody years ago told me that when a woman asks for a divorce, she's been thinking about it for at least 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's the betrayal. Like, you've been thinking about this when we were on vacation with our kids, you were thinking about this. So the last few years have been a lie. And I didn't know you want better communication, but you don't communicate this train oncoming to me. Like, how that is very hard. And I think that most men I work with have not only this complete blindsided shock, but they also have to work through guilt, where they think, okay, I wasn't able to keep the marriage together because they are the sort of again, traditionally, I'm responsible for this unit. And now the rug has been pulled from under me. I didn't save it. So there's the shock, the guilt, the now what? And how do I get better? And again, like, I'm not a big fan when people say men need to go to therapy, and it doesn't have to be therapy. They need to feel better. There's a difference, right? And a traditional talk therapy does not work for a lot of men. Anyway,
Gotta find
what
out
do you think?
for you.
Yeah, in your experience, I'm sorry, I don't want to just keep talking, but in your experience, and based on
In my
100 episodes,
yeah,
sorry, if I may ask, what do you think is the hardest for your...
actually 319. Men don't men have just started to go to counseling over the past 10, 15 years. My ex and I went to counseling. I thought it was horrible. Men have that. We're raised not to show our emotions, things like that. But I think men are breaking that ceiling, and they're starting to go to counseling. And even if they go to talk therapy and it doesn't work, at least they're doing something. Yeah.
And again, that's the sort of action bias, right? I want to do something. I want to move away from where I am, and I want to do something. And it's interesting because in like generationally, you're 100% correct. Most of my clients are men who are in their midlife point. So anywhere between 40 to 60.
Yeah.
And that is very different from what I see. I have a teenager at home. So I also see my son and his friends and this cackle of teenagers and how they view mental health. And let me tell you, this, like, light years apart, right? Between how they are comfortable talking about mental health and the generation that is majority of my clients, which is my generation, where the men are, again, wait, what just happened? I was told not to show emotion, not to cry about it, just walk it off, be strong, blah, blah, blah. Now I am being essentially chastised for if I do cry, like that's not great. If I do seek help, now I feel weak because I have that belief that's not okay. And yet it helps me. I am conflicted about it. So they also have this internal turmoil over, I don't want to go to therapy, but I guess. And then sometimes you have great therapists, and I am not bashing it at all as a profession because, again, I think that a great therapist can change your life. At the same time, if very often you have men who will tell you that this is the only time they can talk about their vulnerabilities without feeling like it's gonna backfire.
And let's not forget about the double whammy, the cultural differences. That's sometimes like a double whammy because a lot of African American men never go to counseling. No, it wasn't a big deal because the distrust with the medical profession, things like that. So there's a whole, we could talk about this for days about that space.
This is true.
Yeah.
And it's sad because, again, what bothers me, and again, I have personal interest in boys and men growing into strong, good role models and strong men. As a society, we need good men. And we've been talking a lot about toxic masculinity. Sure, it's a thing. But where is the counterbalance? Where is the talk about good masculinity, which we all need? No society can survive without good, strong man. That's a fact.
Correct.
And where is that? Like I was talking to somebody the other day about 80% of suicides in the US are committed by men. If it was any other demographic, we would have outrage, people coming up with new government funded programs and like it's bad. Like men don't feel appreciated, valued. There's very few great role models. Somebody the other day told me that there was a question on Reddit and somebody said, give me good role models. And half of them were like fictional characters like Argon or like Lord of the Rings characters. And you're like, wait a minute. Where are the good men? And why is it that young women these days think that they don't need a man? And it's like, where's your dad? Where's your future husband? Where's and partner? So that's a whole other episode that we can talk about. But I am very concerned about the state of men and in the US in particular, but like the Western society as it is right now.
What are some of the immediate steps men can take to reset their mindset after a chaotic divorce? Some simple steps they can take.
So I would say one thing that obviously I am a big fan of, do try to find what works for you. And the help in that mental health sphere, it's a spectrum, okay? So I think that when we say you need to talk to somebody, it could be a friend, right? Do figure out who in your world is a friend you can talk to and make sure that you meet with them regularly, right? If it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. So make sure that you put it on your calendar. I'm going to hang out with Jay next week. I'm going to hang out with Marcus and I'm going to go and see a game with them. Those are little things, but don't stay alone in your state. Second thing, again, we think getting better has to happen with therapy, and sometimes that's true, but very often it's not. It could be go and get in the regular workouts. If your body feels better, you will feel better. I hate it just as much as you do, but it's a fact, right? Think about, oh, you like fishing, and people are like, that's dumb. And That's a therapy for a lot of men. You're meditating. You're alone with your thoughts. You're focused on something very specific. If this is not meditation, I don't know what is, right? Work in your shed. Fine, but make it a thing. Have some things that you see from start to finish, whether that's I'm doing a fishing trip once a month, or I'll be in the shed working on new shelves. Okay, see through it. See it through. See that you start and finish so that you build this idea that you can do things and there's something tangible behind you. It's not just a shit show. It's not just all falling apart. It's not just the chaos that you're experiencing. And also, again, the sort of the idea that therapy happens or like you will get better if you sit in the chair and talk to somebody. Maybe, but maybe it's that you just take time and for a few minutes a day in the morning, you sit with your coffee in the morning and you journal and you scribble down, I'm going to get through today and I'm going to have weekly goals and it sounds so trite and everybody says that and I don't want to get up at 4:30 to do a morning routine. Nobody's asking you to do that. Accept that it's going to look different for you than it looks for somebody you follow on Instagram. We are all individual, but the you have to want to get better, and the moment you do, figure out what works for you and try a lot of things. And if you go, that was a fail, okay, great, try something else.
You learn something.
Exactly.
What about the self war, the self-esteem, self-identity? There's so many selves that take a hit after doing the divorce. And how do you tend to crawl out of that hole? Because that self-war is huge.
So it's funny you bring it up because I am literally just writing about this for my blog.
There you go. Perfect time.
And it's about, yeah, it is. So you don't have to read it. I'll just give you what I'm thinking about lately because it's such a big deal. The people say self-love and love yourself and be yourself. And I remember when I was 13, there was a magazine and they had a section it was like a teenage magazine. And they were like, all the celebrities were talking about when they were 13 and what is the advice for the current teenagers. And inevitably they would say, just be yourself, just be yourself. And every time I was like, what the heck does that mean? Who do you want me to be? I don't know what that is. Those are words. They mean nothing to me. Similarly, when people go, you have to love yourself. Let me tell you, it's the dumbest thing you've ever heard. You're like, what? Love myself? I know all my faults. Like, I know all the mistakes I've ever done in my life more than anybody else. I've been there. I know I screwed up back then. I screwed up regularly throughout my life. How am I going to love that? And also, I can be awful. I know I can be awful. How am I going to love that? And it's just such a preposterous idea. But, and here's the wisdom I'm going to share. It really is the key that starts the spark to something phenomenal. It is loving yourself, really is how you flick the domino and everything else will start falling into place. The problem is we don't know how to do self-love because it sounds demented. Let's face it. Like it's an odd concept. And I'll tell you why. Because as a society in 2025, we've been understanding love in the romantic context. And that's why it's so preposterous. We're like, how egotistical, how narcissistic, how stupid do you think I need to be to love myself? And it's for men in particular, this is very hard because they want to serve. men want to be of service to others, as in like women want to be of service. For men, it's my job is to protect. My job is to provide. That's what I do. The idea that I would take any of my time and love me is completely counterintuitive. It's very hard. So here's why, and the mind trick that I think will help people. The ancient Greeks, and this is where like classical education comes in handy, they gave us, or there's three kinds of love. There's eros, right? The sort of passionate love and romantic love. There is philia or philia, the depending how strong is your Latin, mine is like, and that is a cooperative friend love. The eros is all about like passion and almost consuming, becoming one with the other, usually through sex, but also again, it's a romantic love. And the philia is more about cooperation, and it's what we understand as like friends. So friends cooperate, it's reciprocal. And then there's agape, and agape is what actually grounded the Christianity, where agape is the highest selfless love. And we love, agape is when you love unconditionally, and it's a love that it's an act of creation. And what that means is you love because you're building another. And I'm sorry if I run a little long, but this is very important. Essentially God, through his love, creates, that's the idea that Christianity brought, like he loves his people, and being loved by Christ or by God creates you into a different person. And where it's important today, you don't have to believe in Christ. I don't care. But most men who listen to your podcasts are parents. And parental love is the best example of agape we have. You love your kid not because it deserves it. God knows. It's not for the grades. It's not for how much help they are around the house. You love them because they're yours. And so the idea is, if you bring that thing from a hospital and they're like definitely not helpful, they're completely dependent on you, there's no cooperation, there's no philia. There is creation. The more you love upon them, the better they will become as people. And the trickiest part, and now I'm going full circle, is to recognize that you are yours to love. And so the idea of self-love is, when you were born, there were people whose job it was to love up on you. Whether they did it or not, who cares at this point? You're a grown-ass man, and it's like that ship sailed. But now, when you're a grown up, it's your job. It's nobody else's job in the whole world but yours. And you have to love in that agape sense to create. You have to say, when you ask a parent, like, why do you? Because they're mine. I love them because they're mine. There's nothing they can do that I'd be like, I might not like you, but I will never stop loving you because you're mine. You're my creation. And the same goes for the self-love. You were given a person, you, and your job is to love up on them, upon you. And so nobody else is gonna. And you don't do it because you messed up, or you don't do it because you did good. Like you had a good day and I'm going to love up on you. No, you love yourself because you want to create something great. You want to create a good person.
Okay.
And that is, sorry, I ran a little long, but that is the key to self-love. For men to recognize, for any person to recognize that it's your job to love on this person, and it's unconditional. And when you allow for that, when you recognize that you have you, and it's not because you're cute, it's not because you did good, and it's not going to stop because you messed up, then you can exhale and embrace yourself and be like, oh, I'm that kid. I'm that kid who needs love, and I'm going to give it to you. Give it to me from now on.
So it's almost like self-love is like an awareness.
Yes. Yes, because you are the only one who can deliver. So the warring, I love what you said, but I think that it's just different perspectives of the same person.
And then I see that you were talking about that, how we love on our kids, but it's almost, I tell people that when you're co-parenting, you have to take care of yourself or else you can't take care of your kids. So it's almost like when the plane's going down, you put your oxygen mask on first, and then you put your kids on. So if you don't take care of yourself, you can't. So you have to love on yourself in order to love on your kids.
I had a client last year, and his divorce was terrible. And they had 2 children, and it was like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now, the divorce happened. And he was so stuck on this was it completely turned my kids into zombies. Those are his words. And their life is completely altered. I will never forgive her. And there was so much anger about the impact on the kids.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, fine. But now what? It's been 3 years, and all you're doing while the kids are growing every year, all they see is their dad being stuck on this anger train.
Yep.
And you don't pay attention to them. You basically have written them off as zombies, and like their life that you thought they will have is over, fine. But what about the life they're actually having and living every day while you're too concerned about what could have been? And so that was really interesting to also like point out and have that conversation, and eventually him going in to recognize that, yes, that life is over, but that was in your head, or that's not happening. Like reality, if you fight with reality, you're only going to lose 100% of the time.
Yep. All right, Hana. Man, I didn't get to hardly any questions, so we have to do this again for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am a talker. Did you know that?
No,
now you do.
You have some great knowledge, and I appreciate it, and my men appreciate it. Where can my men find you on the internet?
So I have a RTNC with Hana.com. It's very simple. It's Hana. So RTNC, Rapid Transformation Neuro Coaching, RTNC.com. And you can find me on there, and give me a call, and we can do a discovery call that's free and see if I could be of help.
All right. I appreciate it. Man, I love these podcasts. You never know where they're going to go. You never freaking know. And you were great, but hold on the line and we'll close it out.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thanks, David. It was a joy.
Oh, man, it was a blast.